Yes. Okay. It is Thursday, April 20th. This is our weekly Backdrop developer meeting. We're starting a little late because there's not that many people here. But we will do our best to give an update on where we are anyway. Quick introductions. I'm Jen Lampton, currently joining from Paso Robles, California, and turn it over to Greg.
I am Greg, usually in Melbourne, Australia, but now joining from Greece. I had an activity flurry in the HQ this past week, and I've gone through a few low-hanging fruits and also low-hanging fruit issues that I've created pull requests for in the past. Really excited about reviewing other pull requests by others as well in the queue, and to help in any way that I can. And I'll pass it on to Luke.
All right, I'm Luke McCormick. I'm a web project manager in San Ramon, California. I am interested in Backdrop marketing issues, and occasionally I have usability wishes that I address by complaining about it, and then Greg fixes them. Justin?
Justin Christopherson in Denver, Colorado. I help out with infrastructure when I can.
So two exciting things happened this week. On yesterday we had a security release for Backdrop Core, and so it's not a super big deal, but especially if you have private files, I'd recommend updating your Backdrop site pretty quickly. It was going with Drupal, so that was kind of nice to get that out. And then also exciting, that we didn't mention in the last meeting, is the localized.backdropcms.org website is now running on Backdrop. And that's mostly due to Argipiano. He did a great job porting the modules we needed and doing the upgrade. And then Olaf has been really helpful in working with the translations and making sure all of the content that was on the Drupal 7 site is on the Drupal 8 site, Backdrop site, whatever site it is. Justin helped set up. They hadn't needed a beta site set up. We got that set up, and then we moved the whole thing over to the live server. I just want to say thank you to everybody who was involved in getting that done. I feel like 2 weeks ago we said, I wish this was done, and then 2 weeks later it's done. It just feels like it happened so fast. I'm just so grateful for all the effort that everybody put into that.
Yeah, it reminds me back in the days where Jeff Serendipity just said something about the automatic updates, and it was like, it wasn't that hard. It's like, did it for it. It's like,
how long have we been putting that off?
I missed that update, and I'm so excited because last time that I used it, it was a few years ago, maybe more than 2 years ago, and I was so annoyed because there were things that I needed to fix, like UX wise and workflow wise, and because the modules were D7 and that, I was like, oh, what's the rest? Like, we need to port them first, and after improve them.
Yep.
So yeah, this is a great opportunity. I think I'm going to start lurking around the localized issue queue and start fixing things. Nice.
Great. Yeah, I was also thinking that too. Like, Olaf has new features he wants, and I'm like, I want to build them for you, but not in Drupal 7. And now we can give him everything he asked for. So I'm really excited.
So at this point, all of Backdrop's infrastructure runs on Backdrop, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And on the latest version of Backdrop, right?
Right. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, they all got updated yesterday to the release that came out yesterday.
They didn't all get updated. You updated them. Thank you. Yes.
Well, they did all get updated. It was just, yeah. And then there were a bunch of people who left suggestions on the Borg theme also. Olaf needed some for his site. Robert needed some for backdropcms.org Civi stuff. And BW Pan had some issues. So just a whole bunch of stuff that people have been filing pull requests for. And I got all those in, and I got a new release of the theme out yesterday. And so the login, user registration, and user password pages should be looking much better now. If anyone finds any funky issues with those, let me know. But they should all be less embarrassing today than they were yesterday.
Nice.
Okay. Those are my two exciting updates for this week. Where's the weekly meeting agenda? Here it is. I don't have anything super exciting on the agenda, but just let me look really close Um, see if there's any new contributors. We had one last week, which was exciting.
Quite a few new
Just
people
last
that are
week's.
coming, that are showing up in Zulip. We're not mentioning them, but there's quite an activity.
Okay, so we did get a handful of modules this week. We got field read only and Modoc, which is actually a theme. Both came out this week. So that's exciting. And Modoc, I think, is the theme that was created by our new contributor from last week. So that's
Yep.
fantastic. They was able to get it in there and get a release out so fast.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. We in the user experience meeting, we did talk about the visibility rule for user compare. So I'm not going to talk about that today in the dev meeting. I know there's now work that needs to be done on it. Similarly, there's another feature that I think existed in Drupal and does not exist in Backdrop, and it's chained term tokens. This allows you to, for example, build a URL path that matches a nested hierarchy of taxonomy terms. So if you wanted to have like country, state, city, you can have that in your URL chain with one token rather than needing to reference each token from the previous one, which can be a little memory intensive on the browser just to get the tokens in there. But this is something that existed in Drupal 6, and there was a module for it in Drupal 7, and I just wrote a plugin, not a plugin, just a token for it in Backdrop, and so I would love to get that reviewed, see if anyone else needs it. And then there was one other issue in the forum, I think. We had Tim in the last meeting, and so he shared some of the things he entered in the forum.
Yeah, I have stopped watching the forum since last year, and I am yet to get back on that. There's so many, like 706 notifications in the respective thread in Zulip, so I'll eventually get to it. So sorry, I have left that job to others to do, and Tim was one of them, is one of them, sorry.
He's doing a good job.
And others as well.
So I checked the forum posts for the weekly meetings, and there wasn't anything specifically for the dev meeting. There were a couple of design and usability issues and something for backdropcms.org, and we talked about all of those in the design and user experience meeting in the last hour. So
since you mentioned visibility conditions, I wasn't going to mention that because it actually slipped my mind almost. There's issue 6016, and that is a very simple pull request that basically adds conditions for error codes 200, 403, and 404 for blocks and layouts. And Tim was wondering how to test these. I gave him some advice, but yeah, we need code review and testing.
this is another thing that existed in panels and did not exist in Backdrop. So it's, again, sort of a missing feature, and this will add support for it. I think it's super, super valuable. On a lot of my Drupal 7 panel sites, I would have a special access denied page that would say, like, if you're an administrator, please log in, and put a login form on it. And I found a lot of administrators would like click a link from an email, and then they wouldn't be able to get to the page, and having a login form there that just redirected them to that page was a big workflow improvement for them, rather than having to figure out how to get back to the homepage and then log in and then get back to the page that they started from. So yeah, I would love to see special handling for that in layouts. Also, people often like to make really fun designs for their 404 page, and having a custom option to be able to build that out with layouts would also be great. So I'd like to see both of those.
What's the number again?
It's 6016, so 6016. And then the pull request is very simple as well. You can ignore the changes in the layout module. It's basically putting the entries in layout, autoload info alphabetically. That's it, nothing else. And just one addition. And the rest of it is just a new plugin, which is like 98 lines long. So that's it.
This is great. Does it have tests?
No, and it has a tag for automated tests. I'll give it a go. But
Okay.
I would like feedback on the general thing before I start working on that.
Okay.
I'm not the best in tests, so it will take me some time. If I don't get to it soon, I might just add the help wanted tag there, and someone else can tackle it.
Okay.
And
It looks great.
I gave you sort of like a, what do you call it? A teaser before we start the official recording about an issue that you were excited about back in 2021, and that's 5031. It's not a very obvious feature. It's consolidating functions that basically generate the permission matrices in code. And I was so pleasantly surprised to find out that all I needed to do was just rebase after 2 years. And I thanked Peter and Indigo Zella in the issue, and I'm going to thank them publicly here now. It's like the automations that they have been working for us have been so helpful. And it's like they're picking up typos and things like that, and they make our lives easier and making sure that our the code that we improve or add from now on is tip-top. And yeah, so the last comment that I left is a bit convoluted, or I don't know, it's a lot. Maybe if I explain it while I'm showing the code, it will make sense. Just really quickly, just bear with me. I'll drag that, and then let me see, sharing the proper screen. Yep, it's this one. Just let me do a little bit of tidying up. Right. So basically, at some point, I'm introducing a new function, which is, I'll make fonts a little bit bigger as well. And we'll make it wider. Sorry for the constant changes. So there's a, I think this is it. Yep, that's the function that is being introduced. So I was asking for feedback, and Kian Laluno has provided a feedback when it comes to the name of the function. So it's a little bit of nitpicking just to polish things out. And we are now proposing to drop the verb generate and use build instead. And we are thinking either user build permission checkboxes or user build form permission checkboxes or something like that. And also there was this flag here that Eugen suggested we drop the form and just call it simply is new. But I'm thinking that what this does basically is it's a flag that later there's a conditional here that says if this, or if this flag is set and the administrator, basically it says assign all permissions to the specific role. And my last comment on the issue is that I was thinking to repurpose this, and instead of making a form is new flag, instead I add a new parameter at the end that says, that's a random name, you can propose a better one, all permission roles. So basically specify directly a list of roles that should be getting all the permissions. And this ties up to...
So every module has to specify which roles get all permissions for their checkboxes?
No, it's optional. So everything is optional. So if you use just the function, basically you can build the entire permissions page, which is all permissions and all roles.
But then it won't have admin, it won't have the admin boxes checked, which would be problematic.
Unless you specify here the admin role, and then that will have all the checkboxes checked.
I think we need to make it so that the admin role, because it's supposed to always get all permissions, it needs to always get all permissions if it's defined. Like, I don't think we can start making that admin role not be an admin role. So I think that, like, if I am not sure I see any value in allowing a module to decide that some other random role can also get all permissions. That seems a little strange, but I also don't think we should decrease the value of the admin role. So I think what you're trying to do is make it so that, like, on the node form, right, we just added the ability to have an editor have some permissions. I think that we should find another way to handle that isn't like the node form decides that the editor role gets them. Because what if your editor role did something else and then all of a sudden you're giving it like all the permissions for the contact form? I don't know. It just seems like we have a value for which role is your admin role, and we don't have that option anywhere else. And I don't think we should let modules just guess or I don't know, like make up their own way to determine that.
No, this would be in addition to that. For example, just to tie things, that is, see how we're discussing the previous issue where we automatically also assign all permissions for the editor role. So this is where you would put the editor and say on top of the
But
admin.
you don't want to assign all permissions to the editor role, right? Like for anything, because it's not an admin role. So I think like the definition of the admin role is that it always gets all permissions, and all of the other roles are defined by their permissions. And so I don't think we can make any safe assumptions about what roles should have what permissions globally.
So yes, this ties up to maybe there's no context there. So I'll fire up the pull request sandbox for the issue where we say auto assign permissions by default to the editor role, just to get an idea of what feature would be
instead of just being a role name, because the problem is that this is all or nothing. We're either saying you grant all of these potentially very dangerous permissions to somebody who shouldn't have them, or none of them to somebody who maybe should have some of them. Maybe what we need is like an array that's like a permissions override that allows you to like alter in some key value pairs of like this user role gets these permissions or what have you. But I don't like the like all or nothing, because if you take nothing away from administrator, then that's not good. And if you add things to editor, then that's not all things to editor. That's not good.
So in this issue here, where we are looking to potentially get this feature here, what we've done, one of the things that is introduced is this thing here. So we already have a default administrator role. You can set that to be disabled, and you can have a default content editor role, which can also be disabled if people don't like automatic permissions. But by default, it will be set to, the editor. And then the effect of this would be that each time that you do structure content types, add content types, there's a message here that says, hey, we have set some defaults. You may want to check them. And this is what happens. But if I go here and set this to disabled, which is the dangerous thing or the potentially dangerous thing, and I refresh this page, then the permissions have not been set. So we still allow people to.
So I don't think you need an array for roles then, right? If we are always going to only have two.
Right.
What we need is a way for the module. Module gets no control over whether the administrator gets permissions or not. They're always assigned. That's what administrator role means. But yes, the module might be able to decide, like, of my 8 permissions, 3 of them are appropriate for an editor. And so we need that ability. We don't want all permissions for editor, because that's not what an editor is.
Right. So we need an array of this role gets. Oh, the permissions are already going to be, the array.
Yeah, we can match whatever.
Yeah, whatever is here, which should be an array as well, instead of null here. But this is an array of permissions, right? In this scenario, it would be the list of these permissions here, right?
Yeah.
And in the contact form, let me just do that as well while we're here. So let's do this real quick. Yeah. If I go to settings, so for the contact form, it would be this set of permissions, right? In this scenario, I don't want to give any other role by default all the permissions, but there might be a module that it makes sense for them.
Well, you might. Yeah.
So there might be
I think, for every module, it's going to be sort of different, because some of them have like administration pages and some of them don't, and some of them like use the site-wide contact form as like very like general, and like administer them as very specific. So I think we have to have a way that like either every module can define these are okay for editors and these aren't, or maybe like I don't know. So the question is like, do we build this into this function, or do we just like add an alter and allow each module to like alter in their editor
That's a good idea.
permissions in a different
that-
way?
That's a good idea as well. Yeah. Look,
And if we start with an alter, that might at least give us time to figure out how to do it.
yes.
If we start
Yeah.
having some of our core modules do it, and then maybe we can have a follow-up that's like, okay, make this part of that function. But I feel like it's really hard, like especially now because we don't even have that editor role setting yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, can I count on that or not? I don't know. Maybe it's almost done. Like,
Yeah. Look,
it makes me a little nervous.
What happened here is that I found a problem while I was reviewing the code that I wrote back in 2021, and I said, I don't like this. Basically, I know that I've added it, and the reason why I've added it is to accommodate for these things here. Basically, content types, add new content type, and taxonomy, add
Yeah.
vocabulary. So, but the permission matrices that we are thinking to introduce, like these are only like 4 or 5 cases. And the rest of them where it's like, these are going to be the majority. That what I call here in the issue queue, the pure.
I still think we always need to know if the form is new or not, because if we apply whatever these generic settings are to an existing form, we're going to be overriding permissions that were already set there, like
right.
resetting them. So I think we'll still need is new. We might also need this ability to add additional default values, but they still will only apply when it's new.
Yes, because I think that when I set the array here with the default, where is it? The default value, I will first check if the role already has it. And so I'm not going to be overriding it if there is a permission set. But you're right that this accounts for when a permission is set, not for when a permission is not set.
Yeah.
Yes, I need to check that scenario. Good ideas, good feedback. Right. All right, back to the drawing board then. I'll see how I can sort that out. But yes, this is. I'll add a
User build form checkbox permissions alter.
yes, exactly. Whenever you find the time, Jen, please just add those comments. I'll go back to this meeting as well just to refresh my memory.
Okay, yeah, me too. I feel like we sort of talked around in circles there for a while, but okay.
Cool.
Yes. In general, I love the idea of this because there's still a bunch of interfaces in core where I'm like, I wish there was a permissions matrix here. And after we have this, it'll be so much easier to build that. Did you happen to see the issue I think we just got fixed where some permissions checkbox that wasn't on the permissions form was overriding values when you saved it? Was it contact form?
Yes. So basically, it was. I'll tell you. So this is the issue because you started saying, "Did you see?" I opened it. So yes, I saw it.
Of course, you saw it.
So yes, it was issue. Just let me find it.
Anyway, I was thinking this issue would solve that problem too, because we could have our own
it does.
validators.
It does actually.
Yeah.
So if you go, that's issue 6063. And it's just a one-line fix. What has happened there is I think we copy-pasted the code from the matrices that were used in nodes.
Nodes, yeah.
And there was a conditional there that was checking if the role was an admin, and it was doing it only if the thing was new. But in the contact module, this doesn't apply. So you just remove that and it's fixed. So that's what it was doing there. And the last comment in that issue is that, hey, if we merge the merge request of the other issue that we were just discussing, then we don't need to fix this because I tested it and then it fixes that as well.
Okay, I'm gonna have to see the rest of this code, but it looks like a very straightforward change.
if you compare like the code where I'm changing it, I think that there's an inline comment above or below it that points to the respective function for nodes, like in the node module or one of those node related modules. And if you look at the code and compare it, that's the only difference basically. So in the node module, the conditional of whether the role name is the admin role, it makes sense when the content type being created is new. But here in this instance, when we copy pasted, we should have removed it and we haven't. That's basically.
But there isn't, the change you make doesn't actually remove the is new
No.
check. So that's why I need to see the rest of it to see what's going on here,
No.
because I don't understand it.
Cool. No worries.
Because you still want to give the admin role the permission, but only
give-
if it's, is there just never, what makes the form new? The contact form.
No,
I don't know.
as I said, it doesn't apply to contact form. So basically, if you with this simple change, maybe it's good to demonstrate. Oh, sorry, I'm sharing more than I should. Bear with me.
Is there ever a not new contact form? Is that the problem? They're always new?
The is new thing applies only to things like content, vocabulary, and stuff like that. But there are those matrices that are being added to just pure setting forms that are not
Right, but
created.
you still could like turn on the contact module and you've never been to that form before, so it would be new.
Yeah, but we have the permissions there for that role.
They're in the contact module and they get copied to the user role permission. I don't.
Mm, Bear with me. Bear with me. Actually, sorry for sharing, and just let me prepare the find the sandbox so that we don't create a new one. I don't want to be polluting our sandbox.
I feel like I'm asking like existential questions, like what makes a form new? It's like, I don't know.
you mean new has never been used before? Is that what you mean?
Well, that was the question. Like, what does it mean? What is it? What is new?
Let's see if the contact module.
Are forms self-aware?
It's not enabled by default.
Are they?
All right, so I'm gonna. This is not the pull request. This is just a demo sandbox from our website, and I'm gonna fully uninstall the module as well, so that there's no settings at all. Right. So if I go back to list modules and then contact, and I go to configure and then settings, it sets this by default because I have this setting on, right? So this is what it
Right,
does.
but you just removed the code. You just removed the code that did that, though.
No, you'll
Right?
see. No, because it's the default. No,
Okay.
I'll show you. Right. So the bug here is that any checkbox that you tick here, I'll tick this one as well, and a save. It gets saved. I'll revert those changes here, but if I do that, oh, they're back. Right. So this sticks. These do not. So this is the problem. They always come back because the is new flag is being checked. Whereas if I go to the PR sandbox, which is this,
Well, they should always get checked though, because it's the admin role and you can't uncheck permissions for the admin role. So that's the correct behavior. They should be disabled, maybe. Or if you turn off the admin role, then you should be able to uncheck them.
I see what you're saying now. Let me think about that. So what's
What
the
is it?
purpose?
What does it look
what's
like
the
on the
purpose?
permissions form? Are they disabled?
No, that's what I was about to
I
say.
don't
So
remember.
what's the purpose of having these checkboxes enabled? They should be ticked and disabled, locked, right?
Yeah.
But I
That's
don't
what
think
I
that
was
that's
thinking.
the case. That's not the case, though. I think. See?
Is
That's
it?
not-
Does it do that in Drupal?
No, it's not here. So I can do this. I can really do this. So if I
Okay.
say,
So I'm getting confused. So in Drupal, the admin role is you always get all permissions and you can't do anything about it. In Backdrop, the admin role is you get all permissions by default, but you can do something about it. Okay.
Yes.
I'm like, how does this work? Okay,
remember,
so you're correct then. On the form, you should be able to save unchecking the administrator. Yeah.
because here I am logged in as user one. It so happens to be an administrator, I think. Yes. Yes, it happens to have the administrator role, but what gives him access to everything is just because he's
User one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need maybe to check that.
Okay.
But my point was that this is the PR sandbox. And if you into that, I'll close the other tabs because I just showed you that the problem is reproducible. And here, let's see, codec module. It's enabled. I'm gonna disable it and uninstall it fully again.
I feel like this is a working session.
Yes, it is, but no. So if I enable the module, I gotta configure and settings. Now things work as expected. If I do, maybe I'll do that. So it's more of something like that. And now it respects the settings that I saved, which is with that small change there. I'm sure that if you compare the same function, sorry, just let me stop sharing now. If you compare the same function where we do the same thing for the content types, you will immediately get it, why it's happening. Because when we do this, sorry, stop sharing. When we go and do structure, add content type, whatever content type, we have a way to check if the type is set. We know that the form is new, or if the vocabulary is set, we know that that is not set. Sorry, then we know that it's new.
So it doesn't have anything to do with whether you've previously set those permissions or not. It has to do with whether the permissions exist or not yet. Because with creating new things that you're like defining the machine name, you don't actually have a permission until after the form is saved. Okay.
Yeah.
That
and
makes
also,
more sense.
And also the new things, it's not only the permissions, but we don't know what the permissions names are going to be yet because we have the content type being interjected in the name of the actual permission or the vocabulary being, so they're sort of like dynamic permission names, if you like. So
maybe I'm trying to figure out if this is new flag is the right name for it still.
It's not.
Maybe it should be something like is dynamic true false or something.
So that
that
flag is only useful.
New?
That flag is only useful when you have permissions for content types, vocabularies, and the likes, like whatever.
Well, I mean, it could be anything that you generate dynamically. Like it could be like you could have like a web form access module, or you could have like anything like flags. Like there's lots of stuff that you could be building, creating on your site that would then get its own permissions. But yeah,
my argument though was that those things are very few, I have the feeling, compared to the ones that are pure setting forms. So this flag is going to be the exception being needed in only a few specific use cases. They're very common cases, but very few compared to where we want to inject these matrices in.
But do you think is new is still the right name for it?
No, that's why
I don't know what to.
That's why I called it something like all permission roles, like which role should be getting all the permissions, because this is implied only for those things. It's not implied for all the settings, I think. Anyway, it needs more thought.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks, Greg. Making my head.
Yes, I know. Well, I hope the entire discussion.
That's great. Oh, man, we're at time.
We are.
Well, Luke, Justin, do you guys have anything you want to add? No.
I think I'm good today.
Okay.
Just a quick honorable mention of a pull request that I've tested recently is 5983, which Herb is working on, and that's to add a language switcher to the admin bar when you enable the locale module. And it's close. It's just nitpicking. I think the last comment, we just have merge conflicts, and I think then it's ready to go.
5983.
Yes,
Is that the issue number or the
5983 is the issue number. Yes.
I'm getting a
Actually,
for-
really quick, I might spin up the sandbox thing to show what it looks like. Share my screen yet again.
Here it is.
About.
Yes, thank you so much for the free PR sandboxes and demos. Right, so what that looks like is, so if I go to functionality, then enable this. Yes. And then if I go to language and add another language, I'll just randomly speak Arabic. Then this is what you get then.
Ooh,
Yes, and if you keep adding languages, you get more languages as well. Let's do that.
where'd you get the little icon?
Herb got it from, I think, Font Awesome or something, where we usually get them.
That looks great.
Yes, so this is a great, because in Drupal you used to have like a language switcher block, but this is so much more useful, yeah.
Yeah, this is great for admins, which is they're the people who need to switch it in order to do anything else, and so having it in the admin bar is really useful. But
Yeah.
it won't help.
Admins and content editors, right? Because they get
Yeah.
the admin as well.
Sorry, I meant logged in people.
Right, cool.
Yeah, it looks great.
Alright.
Did you
Well,
switch it right to left? Greg's the one who switches everything.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet, but I think it works. But just let me showtime. Let me just I'm not sharing my screen now. Should I?
I don't know.
It's like 10. Just bear with me.
Did you have something you were saying, Luke?
I was just saying before we leave, we should mention that we have a couple of backdrop presentations at MidCamp
Yeah.
next week.
You want to
Yeah.
announce them?
I
You
don't
know
know
what they
enough
are?
about them to announce them. I just know they exist.
Here,
There's
I can go
more
look.
than 0 of them. But I thought the internet might be interested in that.
Yeah.
I lost my tab. Sorry, that's why it's taking me longer. There it is. It's the pull request, and then if you do, and this is my lazy way of switching left to right, which works all the time. Well, it's still there, isn't it? But oh, it's not working anymore. All right, we might have found a bug. We'll see. So usually if I make a left to right language the default, then the whole UI switches, but in this case, it's not
Yeah.
happening. Yeah. So maybe that doesn't happen when with the locale module. Just let me quickly
Huh.
test it. Functionality. That the default. Yes, it switched. So maybe that's a bug there in the other pull request thing. Okay,
Interesting.
thanks for prompting me. We this another bug. Cool. We passed our time. I think we should call it
Yeah.
a meeting.
I looked at midcamp.org, but they don't have one page with all of their sessions on it. It's on separate pages, so I couldn't find all the backed up sessions. But there's a lot of backed up sessions at midcamp, and I think some of their sessions also have virtual options. I know they're gonna have videos after the camp, at least. So there's that. All right. Well, thanks for the working session, Greg. I feel like
Thank
we
you.
got a lot of talking done. Nothing else.
All right, cool. Thanks for listening and for watching me demo things.